Hi, beautiful souls. How are you guys doing? Oh, I'm a little bit sick today. You gotta excuse me. And I'm gonna wait for Sunny B to join us. It's 6:30, and I'm live. And I forgot my tea. Hey, I'm gonna go get my tea because I want my tea. Hi, love. I so forgot my tea.
Go get your tea.
Yeah, I'm a little sick over here, and I'm not liking it. Very upset about this. When I say I have been avoiding like everything, to not be sick or anything for any of this. I've been perfectly healthy. Hi, Kelly. Thanks for joining. So I'm sorry, guys. And then my mug's not even clean. So yeah, I'm really not ready. Um, hi,
We're
Rob.
getting it
Hi.
together.
Joining so much.
Hey,
Talk.
I
I'm
love
just
seeing.
impromptu. I love seeing the people just come in, meet me on the mat.
Yeah,
Hi, hi, hi.
I
Let me.
know.
Oh, wait. I'm gonna send this to people, and then after my tea heats up, we will get started because my tea is like cold. I made it beforehand. Then I started putting my knots in my hair, and I completely forgot about it. That's what I was like. Let me go put my hair in knots, and then I was like, oh wait, my tea. I don't have it. I'm drinking ginger, honey, cloves, and cinnamon tea with lemon.
Yum.
Yeah, being kind of healthy. So, how are you doing, Sunny?
I'm good. I made a green spring soup today for
Mm.
dinner, and oh my gosh, I need to share this recipe. It was so good. It was so yummy. So,
It
soup is
sounds.
my favorite. It has a little bit of chicken in it, but you could omit that. And like asparagus and celery and leeks and spinach. And oh my
Oh, that sounds
gosh.
so hearty. That sounds.
Oh,
I should probably be eating.
it was
Other
so
than,
good.
but okay, we're not. We're going. That sounds really good. You're making me want like a stew after hearing all.
Oh,
Yeah.
rough day, Kelly. I'm sorry it was a rough day.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm here. I have my tea
Yay.
and
So we're picking up kind of where we left off last
yeah,
week because we had a lot to talk about last week
yeah.
and just realized that we just were not going to do any justice if we try to do everything in that 30-minute time period. So,
Hi Soku. Oh, that's my friend Soku who just joined. Hi love. Hi love. Yes, so last week we covered the toxic topics of discrimination and racism that's in the yoga community. We discussed the toxic behaviors of discrimination. I just said that, didn't I?
yeah. And I'm
Just,
just going blank all of a sudden.
we both are, aren't we? We talked about discrimination. We talked about I don't why
If I'm frozen, oh, there you are. It froze up. I didn't
okay.
know if it
I
was me or
have
you. We're good.
still having technical difficulties. Okay. We talked about cultural appropriation, discrimination, whitewashing, and we touched base on the spiritual awakening, like not being in connectivity to the spirituality. So those are the topics that we talked about last week. This week we're going to continue talking about the disconnection of spirituality, godlike complexes, good vibe, like the toxic positivity movement, and what was the last thing? I just had it and I just lost it.
Like
Uh,
competitive. Oh, no, that was part of that. Oh,
Yeah,
social media and culture,
yeah,
social media culture.
that is engrossed in it. So that's where our conversation is going to go today.
Yeah. Let's
Excited.
just jump right in there. Like
Yeah.
talking about like the disconnection of spirituality. So what for you is like the spiritual part of yoga for you?
The spiritual part of yoga for me is the connectivity to self. If you think about, and I actually look, I'm somewhat prepared. I'm somewhat prepared because I have this wonderful book, The Heart of Yoga,
Oh yeah, there you go.
Developing a Personal Practice. And it's by, I never know how to say his name properly, so I'm going to show you all like how to say.
Deskachar.
Thank
Deskachar.
That's like a chara. I always like to hear someone say it before I like butcher it. Um, and he talks about like he dives deep into the different sutras and the different aspects of owning oneself and understanding the connectivity to yourself and to the divine. And once you are in tune with that connectivity of self and the divine, then everything else falls into place. And for me, I feel like when we discuss yoga in the Western world and when we discuss yoga here, that aspect is taken out and is replaced with more of a how can you make yourself feel good and why are you not feeling good. And I get the point of accountability, but I feel like you can't hold accountability if you're not teaching in a way for people to know how to guide themselves. Like you are a guide for them, and people aren't guided properly, and they're not understanding why they're doing the motions and not feeling the feelings because there's that disconnect.
Right. And yoga is so, like you're saying, it's so deeply rooted in spirituality. And that when we're practicing, when we're in the practice, when we're going through the asana and we're removing that part, is it still a yoga class or is it a stretching class or
It's just a fitness class at some point, and I feel like we've taken the art of yoga and the personality of developing a personal practice for self and self, and we have now taken it and made it such a physical thing where it's only looking at the physical, looking at the moves, looking at the asanas, looking at how you look. And then even when we talk about how we feel, this is where we kind of like interchange it with the toxic positivity of like you are the course of your own happiness, and there's that disconnect of owning every feeling and every emotion in there. It's not always going to be positive because that's not how life works, and sometimes I feel like the toxic positivity definitely does creep in there, and people don't know how to deal with it because it's excluded from the practice completely.
you just covered that so well. And people ask all the time, like, oh, is yoga religion? Because when they hear about the spirituality part, they confuse the spirituality with like an organized religion or a definition of that religion. And you defined it and explained it so well. Kelly says she took a deep dive in sutra study. So grateful. Yes, I think
Yeah.
everyone needs to take a sutra class. And I was fortunate to do a sutra study a few years ago, and they keep the material up. And so I try to go back and study it again and again, just because you'll only retain like little bits at a time. And
Exactly, and that's where it's like there's so many components to it that you can never just say, hey, this is what it is. And if you're not getting it, then that's it. And I feel like that's what it is sometimes. They try to make it very black and white and cut and dry.
well, we also have to remember when we're just doing the physical practice, and let's just call it modern postural yoga, right? Not really yoga. But when we're doing that, we have to remember that the Sanskrit, the names of these poses have a lot of them have a very rooted spiritual connection with them, a deeper meaning to what the names are, why the poses are called this way, and just and honoring that and being in acknowledgement of that and honoring that also is so important.
Yes,
I felt like I was too dark. I need a little light.
I, I agree. Kelly said it was offered separately and it was so valuable. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. Sutras of Patanjali. Did I say his name? Kind of
It's Patanjali.
Patanjali.
But
This
I
was
think we all say it wrong when we first hear it, Patanjali, right?
I
I think, yeah.
in like a year and I'm still saying it wrong, and I'm
No,
like,
it's okay. I think we all say it wrong in the beginning unless you get somebody. Yeah. So, and also like I feel like the practice as we're getting into this, if you are a religious person, I have seen where the practice of yoga has um deepened their relationship with their spiritual being, their belief system,
mhm.
and that it has actually been a good combination with it too, you know.
I highlighted a part in the book for this. It,
Oh, good.
as to why we do yoga. Why do we start yoga? Like what intentionally brings us here? I'm going to read a passage out of the book. These are his words, and I loved it because it really clicked for me when I first read it. Why do we set out on this journey at all? Because we sense that we do not always do what might be best for ourselves or others. Because we notice that we often do not recognize the things around us as clearly as we could or clearly enough. And why does this happen? Because the veil of avidya, I probably didn't say that right, avida, clouds our perceptions. And that I think is what is really missing in our yoga culture in the West, is that we do not talk about these terms. We do not engross them in the practice. It's like it's a completely separate study when it should be intertwined. It should be interwoven. And I think that is a toxic trait in itself.
Yeah, your royal lioness. I love your name. That happened to me. It deepened my relationship with God. Yes, I've seen that happen a lot. Like,
Yeah.
um, and it's true. And it just and trying to figure out how to weave that into your classes or open that door so that people might want to explore that a little bit more on your own. And so we're bringing in these things from the heart of yoga. We're bringing in the sutras and all of these things into our classes.
Yeah. In my class, I always kind of gear my when I always start with like some type of pranayama, and in that midst of doing the pranayama we go into a deep meditative state where you are connecting with yourself, you are connecting with your breath, and your breath is your life force energy. And that's always something that I tie into it, and I'm like, you have control over this life force energy, you have control over your life. And I think that that really awakens awareness and that spirituality in that sense, where it's like at the end of class, I'm always having a lot of commenters saying like, wow, this was like really a different experience. I really got in with my body. And I'm like, that is what is missing. That is what can really remove a lot of these toxic traits that we are seeing be pushed into, this community. So yeah, I
It's
had to.
amazing. It's just making me excited. Like next week we do the meditation, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I cannot wait to meditate with you and see how you bring this in for us. This is very
Uh,
nice.
Beautiful. Um, so I guess we can kind of switch gears and keep moving on down to the next thing. And the next thing we can talk about is the toxic positivity, please.
Yeah, good vibes only.
The good vibes only trend is
I
so toxic
know.
because it is a spiritual bypass. It literally you bypass all of your negative emotions. You're not. It's a way for you to not hold yourself accountable for what is going on internally with your own, and it's a way for you not to have to check in. It's a way for you to not have to check in. It's like, oh, I'm only dealing with good vibes, I'm not dealing with anything that's not going to allow me to feel good. But everything in life is not meant to feel good, and you're kind of excluding the experience of this life force that we're supposed to be dealing with.
I mean, I'm not going to argue. It would be fantastic if we could just honestly go through life all love and light and positivity, but that's just not our reality. And, many people and practitioners think that this is how we operate. They're like, oh, you're a yoga teacher. You just must be, no, it's really far from and it's far from the truth of yoga that this is, like you said, it's spiritual bypassing and to spiritually bypass that we're neglecting to sit with our feelings, to understand and feel any pain or suffering, And that's gonna, like, first of all, that is not sitting in our truthfulness. It's not satya. It's not ahimsa, because if you're if you're in this, honestly, quite honestly, to be able to spiritual bypass like that is sitting in a place of absolute privilege,
Yes.
right? And if you're looking at this and I don't want to address this, then you're neglecting the other people in the room that this is affecting and having these things. And I mean, I remember being in a workshop once, and the teacher was talking about, just some of these things. I'm trying to remember specifically. And there was a man in the room who said, "Well, I just don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to deal with that. I try to keep everything positive." And I just was like, "Well, that is just amazing that you can go through your life and do that, because the rest of us really aren't able to." And what are you getting out of that? Like, why aren't you, like, trying to learn from this
Yeah.
and integrate this and have some growth, and then also, really, yoga for me is about a lot of social justice work, and these are the things that we need to do. Like, yoga is radical, you know.
Said it. You said it. Growth. In pain and in discomfort is growth. And I think a lot of people get so comfortable in the stagnation of life. They get comfortable wanting to feel comfort, not realizing that that's not what the life experience is. And that was something I really had to endure and learn in my yoga journey. Like, is that life is an experience and it's not going to be anything. Yes, this ease,
Mm.
that this ease brings disease in when you don't deal with it. Ignoring your inner self shadow work brings a full love to fest with your life. Yes. And that's another thing, is the shadow. I feel like there's a lot of disconnect in the shadow work when you think good vibes only, because when you think good vibes only, then you're not dealing with your childhood drama, you're not dealing with anything. You're just putting it into a melting pot for it to later boil over, and you don't even understand why you're blacking out. And then that's just something that occasionally happens to you, and that's not normal. And it's about a regulation process that I think
Mhm.
we don't take into account when we say, "Oh, it's good vibes." I was so a part of the good vibes only, and it wasn't until I went into my depression, and I was going through depression myself, and I had people saying, like, "Well, you need to cheer up, and you need to, like, you are, like, making me feel bad for feeling an experience."
It's so
Um,
dismissive. It's so dismissive. It's dismissive of your feelings and your life experience. Now, we this is what our practice does. It helps us to work through these things, and it gives us the tools. And we talk about the 8 limbs of yoga so much, and ahimsa being the first one. And is it really kind and non-violent to yourself to push that down in a way and not address it?
yeah. And I don't think people take this, also again ties back into the spirituality. We have how we're doing spiritual harm to ourselves. I feel like we talk about self harm, but we don't talk about the spiritual harm that we do with ourselves when we do spiritual bypassing, when we don't do our shadow work, when we completely ignore the discomfort that is coming from the spiritual aspect. Like, there are times where people are really, you're having anxiety, you're having all of these internal feelings because you're not dealing with things on the spiritual side, and they're leaking over into the physical realm. I love my practice. I love myself. Yes, Kelly, can't have a relationship with someone who is disconnected from themselves. Exactly. Because any connection that you break, that you build with that person, is going to be disingenuous. It's not going to be a genuine connection, because they don't even know their true selves. They don't even know if they truly going to like you. And I love that you said that, because that's something I definitely had to deal with. It's like, as you come into yourself and your own person, you will start to see your surroundings change, because you are starting to see what your true values and your true morals are, which leads back to yoga. So yeah, I think we're doing good.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it can be really bad. I mean, I don't, we're not saying like be dark and depressed and all of these things. It's
Not
not
a,
that. but we're not trying to just, you can't bat that away,
There's
you
a
know,
ba-
like
there's a
there's a,
balance in everything. Can't be all good all the time because that is toxic. Too much of anything is toxic, and there has to be a balance in everything. That's what we're saying. You can't expect me to be good vibes only and, like, my mom just passed. It's not going to be realistic, and it's honestly not giving me time and space to truly grieve and deal and process with these lower vibrational emotions that are still a part of the human experience. That's what I'm saying.
ooh, you give me some chills on that one. I like
Hey,
that.
welcome, Jackie. Welcome,
That was
Freedom. Thank you for
good.
joining. I appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
You want to read that one? That's a lot to read. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Toxic positivity is further exceptionalism and disrupts the collective connection and takes us out of co-regulation necessary to create change. Basically, it ruptures the power of the yoking of yoga.
Yes.
Yes.
The yoking of yoga. Girl, girl.
I know.
Yes.
These are some
Yes.
amazing people. I love the contributions.
Yes. I love
Amazing.
bring your
Bring
contribute to the conversation. I love it. I love this. I love this. Woo-hoo. I'm excited. I'm sorry.
yeah.
All right.
And so with that, it really leads us into that. So we talked about like kind of like that godlike complex or that kind of thing where, and to me, it's more like the hierarchy where we feel like some people come in with this like, well, because I can do this, I'm, there's that pedestal and things like that. And um, I don't know. We just need to keep in perspective that as yoga teachers, um, we're not the authority
Mm-hmm.
of all the things. We don't possess all the answers to all of the things. We don't have the ability to see or heal people physically or emotionally. Oh, bye, Kelly. It was good to see you.
Hi,
Um,
Kelly. Thanks for joining.
yes. And, you know, there's just so much just from that. Like we see the gurus who are coming in and saying, I have all the answers, live your life like me, follow me. And then what usually ends up happening, there's that power structure. Anytime you bring in that power, uh, it just never seems like it's going to end well, does it?
Never also have people who literally market and they it's like they capitalize off of the fact of like, oh, good vibes only, and then they hone in on these people who are dealing with these lower vibrational tendencies, and instead of guiding them through the process of dealing with these emotions, they shame them and then be like, oh, well, maybe if you come to this class and try take this workshop and read this book that I wrote, like, this is how it can make you feel happy. And it's like, it's more to it than that. You should be able to really definitely guide people through more often. And there's a disconnect of them not wanting to guide and them placing themselves in that divine place that they should be guiding that person. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, I feel like they're really like taking advantage
Yeah.
of people in in their pain, people that are in their suffering or in their situation,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of helping them find a way for themselves, make promises that don't really exist and can
Yeah.
be pretty dangerous.
Really dangerous, and then also leave people feeling a certain way, like feeling spiritually empty. Like, if you are seeking someone out because you are already in distress and that person is now shaming you for feeling that distress, and then they're making it seem like, oh, the only way that you can get out of this distress is through their help, that's not okay. That is a toxic behavior because you're not really truly helping that person. And I'm not saying that what's in that book couldn't be valuable to that person at all.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. But you should not be the only aspect or avenue to helping that person find peace. And there's a lot of that within the yoga community that we see where it's like, well, you have to take my
She paused up.
I, yeah, no,
Yeah.
my phone. That's all. I just have to hook it up to the charger. Uh-huh.
So, so it reminds me a lot of times, like, my husband and I always have a joke whenever he says like something, oh, my back hurts or this is bothering me. And I always go, there's a yoga pose for that. But I only say that because, people are always saying yoga is the answer and the cure for everything. And in a way, yes, but people are using this as
A
a way
crutch.
to, right, and to promote themselves. And
Yeah.
I just always try to remember, and I just try to keep in mind, and I learned this from one of my teachers, Jivana, who says, that like yoga is the answer, but I'm just the vehicle that brings the yoga in. And
Exactly.
you can't confuse the practice with the guide or the practitioner. Like,
Yeah.
because I'm doing this, it's not making me, I'm not here. I'm just the vehicle today that brought you this practice, or maybe open that door, and then we go from there.
Exactly.
I,
And
I loved how he explained that.
yeah. Yeah, because you see it so many times within the community where it's like only by taking my class, or you see where it's like a lot of people disconnect themselves and use the platform to boost themselves as opposed to understanding. And then you also get the ones that think that they are all knowing, like the guy, like, oh, the ones that are like, I know how to pronounce everything and I know how to say everything and I've traveled with them. So now I am a guru. And it's just, no, you can't place yourself and name yourself something and then take from a culture that has spent centuries building up, you know, a lifestyle. I'm not saying that you could be a master, but there's always still more to learn, and there should be some humbleness to it that we don't see in our community. It's like, I know how to do all of this. I know how to do 175 poses, and I know how to speak full Sanskrit, and I've traveled to India, and I've done yoga in front of the Taj Mahal, and it's just like, whoa. But what is your connection to yourself? One, because all of these things are materialistic and outer bound. And two, how are you helping other people find that truth and find that same peace within themselves? Because it's more than
Well,
that.
and I was going to say too, this kind of ties back into last week, is we see dominant culture come in all the time and try to claim this and say, I've learned this from this teacher, but now I'm coming in and I know I'm gonna claim this as my own, and I'm gonna say that it's me. And I've seen this in yoga studios, because we're talking a lot about the toxicity in yoga studios, and where you have the teachers that are competing with each other to bring the numbers in, and maybe poaching students from other classes and trying to market themselves as I'm the best or I'm this. And I've seen teachers that
42
have,
experience.
yep, and I've seen teachers that have, like, had the privilege to go to India and do an immersive practice, do an immersive training, and then come back and market themselves as, well, I'm Indian trained. I'm an Indian. I swear to you, at the studio I worked at, there is someone who says, I'm an Indian trained yogi. And I'm just like, okay. I mean, aren't we all? I mean, let's recognize the culture here. And
One
I'm
thing I
sorry.
No, one thing I love to say at the end of my class is like, the teacher and student that is in me honors the teacher and the student that is in you, because there's something for us all to learn from each other.
I
Like,
love that.
even though I taught this class and I guided this class, I'm sure this experience has taught me more by you allowing me to guide you through this. So it's not just a one-way street. It's not just a one-way avenue of me dictating how you're feeling and guiding you. It is me learning how to navigate through this together. And I don't think that people have that aspect when they're teaching.
I am so blown away every time I end a class of how much I have learned and what I've taken away from this class. Um, and I always I do the same thing. I'm just like, man, like, thank you for practicing with me today, because I needed to learn this. I needed to feel this. I needed to experience this. I needed to contemplate this. Like, it's
Yeah.
it's reciprocal. It's a reciprocal relationship. It's coming back and forth, and we got to remember that.
Yeah, I love what I don't know what this person's name is. R. Connie B said.
Artsy, honey.
Oh, RC Honeybee. Okay, that makes sense. There we go. Right, because all of those because those are all ego driven and takes us out of spirit. Exactly. And we have to be in tune with spirit in order to be in tune with our practice. And I think that's where the disconnect comes from a lot of the times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I woohoo, thank you.
And this is bringing us right into the social media culture and then how it's presented. It's packaged and marketed now to everybody. And so we're seeing this. We're seeing these, like, so we call them now like yoga celebrities, right? Because there are these celebrities now in yoga and they might not be the guru or, but they're just, we're like, oh, this is
So
amazing.
I'm going to I specifically wrote down like one or two yoga people. I can't remember the second person. I didn't write it down. I'm lying. But when there's there is yoga social media that is very blatantly whitewashed, very blatantly directed and geared towards a specific audience, which is not inclusive. And then I like to follow people like, I don't know if you follow Mel, what's her name? Mel Douglas yoga. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
Her name is Mel Douglas Yoga or some yogi or something like that. And the reason why I like the way she markets it on social media is because she shows herself doing the journaling. She shows herself doing her root work. She talks about the struggles. She talks about like she's not all toxic positivity all the time. She talks about the sutra, she talks about her practice, and I love to see if you're going to be marketing yoga on social media, the best I would like to see you market it in such a way where you are bringing it back to the spirituality, you're bringing it back to what the true roots of yoga are, not just doing a pose in front of the Taj Mahal or doing a pose in nature. Not that those things aren't aesthetically pleasing, but then what is the message and the reasoning behind it? And is it just for likes? Is it just for like, oh, I just need my people, I just want followers? Like, no. Like, I didn't create this page because I wanted to get followers. I created this page because I felt like I needed a platform where I could really discuss things about yoga and have a like see more people that look like me. Like, I want this to be, do you get what I'm saying? You get it.
No,
Y'all.
I was exactly going to say is that you needed to create the platform as I did too, so that we can counterbalance all of the other things that we're seeing on social media. We
Yeah.
need to see all bodies doing yoga. We need to see all races doing yoga. We need to see yoga being performed in all the ways. The yoga with the big Y and not the little y, like we talked last week. You know, the big Y is the all encompassing everything that comes in with the practice. There's the little y, which is the asana, which
Yeah.
is fine. It's part of it. But we like the big Y. It's got everything. And, you know, I say the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, everything that is about life. And this is my yoga practice. And my yoga practice isn't just when my 2 feet are on the mat. You know,
Yes.
my yoga practice is when I'm dealing with the stresses of a family in this time. My yoga practice is all of these things. And so, yes, Faith Hunter, she's awesome. And I got to meet her. Her page is Spiritually Fly. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I got to meet her last September in at the Mammoth Yoga Festival, and I think I'm going to see her again in June. And like,
Yeah.
she's really she's very good. She's got some good stuff, so you got to follow her too. Yes,
Brandy
yes.
says diversity brings more enjoyment. Exactly, because more people can enjoy it. My thing is, why would you want someone to not enjoy the same piece that you get from a practice? Why would you want to exclude someone from that? I just never understood why you would think that something isn't meant. If something is meant to bring someone peace of mind, closer, raise their awareness, raise their ability, like think of everything that is supposed to be under the umbrella of yoga. Why would you want to disclude other people from feeling that same peace and enjoyment?
100%. And that's the thing. Where social media, there's a lot of things that are negative from social media. We don't want to see all of these things. It's not good for us. It's not good for our mental health. But we can change that if more people were out there showing their true practice, not the filtered picture, not
Exactly.
the one on, the dancers pose on a cliff. Those things scare me. That just terrifies me. And it's not just
I'm like,
here's me and
how-
my, with that.
I said, first off, how did they get up there? I was still on the cliff. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I've posted pictures of myself doing practicing asana in my pajamas, or trying to get, like, I think one day it was busy and I had on a skirt and I was like, well, let me just do a couple, like, I've just got to fit this in here. This is real life and this is how it's going to be. And here I am in my aging, fat, chronically ill body. And I want you to see that it's not just for this specific uh, image that's being presented on social media. So we can change that. Like, we can change that algorithm. We can also stop following those accounts that aren't making us feel good about ourselves when we're done. We can stop patronizing those accounts that aren't really, like, really good, healthy. They're just not good for the general population. Like, we cannot do that. And then, like, share people showing real bodies, real lives, practicing yoga.
I love that. And I think that's what we need to get back to, is showing the inclusivity, showing everyone. Like, first of all, I love seeing kids do yoga. There's this one adorable girl. I can't remember anyone's name because I'm horrible at remembering Instagram names. But I'm like, I love seeing kids do yoga. I love seeing older people do yoga. I love seeing everyone do something that's going to bring them peace, because I know how I feel when I do yoga, or when I'm in tune with myself, and when I'm aligned. So it's like, when I see other people taking part in their own personal practice, that in turn brings me joy, because I see essentially the world working on themselves. And you would want to see more of that. I hate to see people in a state, it's like they're a state of misery, or a state of feeling like they don't know themselves, or they can't get to know themselves. There are so many people who are just in pain and need release, and they look for it in so many of the wrong places. And yoga is a way that can definitely bring peace to them and bring them in tune with themselves in a much better and clearer way.
100%. I love that. That's fantastic. Anybody else have any, like, thing about social media, like some positives or negatives that you're seeing, or
Yeah.
anything? Like, I want to hear what other people are seeing out there. And sometimes we do see those accounts that circle back to that toxic positivity, or any of that kind of stuff too. And we need to be aware of those things. Like, there is that balance. It does feel, we can find that balance. I love how you said that earlier, the balance.
Because that's what it is about. Yang and yang all the time.
All the time. All the
Uh,
time. Yay.
I
Awesome.
I think
We
we
covered a lot
we
today.
did. We did.
And
We really did.
we can never fit it into 30 minutes. We never can.
I
And that's all right.
Because we don't go over 45, we're good.
So tell me what's going to happen next week. What are we offering everybody next week?
Next week we are offering yoga and meditation. I believe you were going to do some chair yoga, because I love your chair.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up with some type of stuff for us to do in the chair, so everyone who's sitting can do things. And I'm going to do meditation. I can start off with the meditation, then deliver it over to you. Um,
Yeah.
Remarks
So let's do
afterward.
a nice little 30-minute practice, and you record these, and then you repost them on Instagram and on your YouTube channel too.
Yes, all of these will be being posted up to my YouTube channel. I just have not had the chance to download them to my laptop to upload them onto YouTube.
It's okay because it's real
It
life.
won't do the phone. Like, I got the iPhone,
Oh,
and I don't like the iPhone don't like me, y'all. So that's what that is. It knows that I'm Team Droid, and so we beefing. It is what it is. Um, so
So
many.
next week, so we've got this free meditation and yoga practice for you next week. Same place, same time. And again, if you can't join us live, um, it will be recorded. You'll find it on Instagram later. But
Yes.
this was just a nice way for us to bring it all together. And you know, accessibility is not just about using props, sitting in a chair. It's about making it accessible and affordable to everybody. And you know, here we are using social media to share. I know I'm the same way, Brandy. I love my iPhone. I'm the same way. But here we are. This is a way that we can use this social media to practice the big Y
Yes.
yoga, big Y, capital Y yoga, and make this accessible for everyone and get this out there.
Yes. Yes. So I'm excited. We will see you guys next Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Next
Next
Tuesday.
next.
Is that the 31st? Yeah. We're
What time?
finishing out the, or no, the 29th, sorry. Whatever next Tuesday is. I never have a calendar in front of me when I need it.
I'm going to look because I want to make sure because we moved it and now I'm looking like, hey, didn't I have something to do the 29th? I'm going to make sure. Hold on. Because we remember we added one. Yeah,
Yes, because this one
29th.
was supposed to be today.
It's the 29th. We're going to see. Look, my life. All right. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I want to
Thanks
thank
for
you
joining and
for coming
sharing.
on my platform and doing this yoga chat series with me. I'm excited for next week. Mark your calendars for the 29th. And our yoga chat
Yes,
series,
thank you.
that's a wrap. Next is just yoga and meditation. That's it. We're done.
It's
Wow.
been an amazing month. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun just talking about the things that we need to keep the conversation going. You know,
Exactly.
go out into your yoga communities and be sharing these conversations with your students, your co-teachers, your teachers, anybody around. Like, we need to be talking about these things. There's some amazing sources out there. We're just two people that have some opinions. There's a lot. Keep that conversation going.
Yes. Love you guys.
Yay. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye. And we're logging off.